Now I was thinking of how to do this intro for the first video, and I was like, ooh, we come in like Rocky or have some funny punchline, and I got nothing. So I figured we'd just say, hello.
Hello.
Awesome. Anyway.
How about you go ahead and introduce yourself first?
Okay, I was going to do that, but you cut me off, but whatever. My name's Dan. I'm an Eagles fan. This is the Wifey for Lifey.
Megan.
We decided to make a show. It's called Married with Football. We're going to talk things Eagles, throw in some Cowboy hate, the rest of the team hate, because that's what we do. But for our first video, we figured, let's talk about that new schedule just dropped this week. Pretty excited. Football season's right around the corner. Even though we are in full Phillies mode too. Go baseball, but
Go Phillies.
it's not what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about that Eagles schedule. So from now, I'm sure everybody has seen it. If not, I'll post a little something, probably over my face because I want to see it. But post a quick little shot of the season. But let's go ahead. What are your first thoughts when you saw it?
The bye. That bye sucks.
Yes, a week 5 bye is not ideal.
I think it's super disrespectful.
Yeah, in the NFL today, I don't understand how you went to an 18th week and you're still doing buys in week 5. I think that's crazy. You could have started buys like week 7.
No, I was going to say like week 9, 10.
I mean, I
Get
understand.
halfway through the season and then do your buys then.
I understand that, they don't want to have a whole bunch of teams off at one time because you have to have Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football, 1 o'clock games, 4 o'clock games. So you got to hit all your TV slots that you must have. So you don't want too many teams on a bye at one time. But I still think, a little later. Also the fact that I think like week 8 or 9 there are no buys, somewhere around there, which is like really weird. Like you could at least at the bare minimum pushed buys back a week and not had a week with none.
But that was my first thought. It was the bye. The bye is just so early. Anything can happen after week 5, where injuries come into play at the end of the season. And
it's always great to have that like stress period. I mean, the only positive part though is we do have a week 11 Thursday night game. So between week 11 and 12, it's almost like a mini bye. You get those extra days of rest. That's kind of nice.
That's true.
And then we don't actually play till Sunday night football, even though it is on the West Coast. So that is a travel. But I mean, ultimately, you get a little bit of extra rest coming off there. And then, no disrespect, but week 14 we play the Panthers. That's kind of like another bye. So
my other thought was the fact that I initially thought that our first game was going to be against the Browns when we went to Brazil, but because playing the Browns then wouldn't count as like a
the NFC tiebreaker stuff. Yeah, I was really thinking that there was going to be a Browns because I didn't think they'd want to do a neutral game where 2 NFC contenders are playing each other, and that could break.
It actually
hurts the tiebreaker portion of that,
and it makes a difference. It's a difference maker.
So I really thought they were going to go NFC AFC matchup for that, and then with the 3 AFC teams that the Eagles play at home, Jaguars already have multiple games overseas. So I figured that wasn't going to be it, and like what kind of sense would it make to have Pittsburgh and the Eagles, 2 Pennsylvania teams, playing each other, and let's ship them off to Brazil? So that didn't make sense. So I thought the Cleveland Browns were the logical choice there. But they went with the Packers, and you know what? It stinks, but if that's, one of our worst complaints about the schedule, I think, overall the schedule is much better than last year's gauntlet of hell that we had to go through. So I'll take that with a grain of salt. I mean, so let's go ahead. We'll jump in.
Let's go ahead, go through the schedule, and then
the way I kind of look at things is through like quadrants. I break them up, the first 4 games, like what we need to do. I'm not going to go and pick game for game. I mean, I might point out which games are trap games and what games are, I have legitimate concerns that we might lose, and then which ones that I think that we should be able to handle business. But in them first 4 games, obviously we have the Brazil game where we're playing the Packers. Then we come back, play Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football. Then we have back-to-back road games at the Saints and the Bucs before the bye week. That Packers game That's going to be a tough game. And to be honest, even if that game was in Philly, that game's still going to
It's
be
going
tough.
to be a tough game regardless.
I mean, the Packers are a good young team. Jordan Love showed, that him sitting on the bench for the last couple of years, he actually learned some things, and he looked really good, and he looked really great stomping the Cowboys in the playoffs last year.
I loved watching that.
So that was absolutely great. I mean, it's going to be a tough game. I mean, it's going to be real interesting to see how the Eagles handle preseason.
I like that they brought back mini camp.
Yeah, they got the mandatory mini camps and stuff. That's gonna help a little bit in getting them prepared. But I know, like, preseason games, there's a lot of emphasis on the fact that Nick Sirianni doesn't really play his starters much, and the downside of that in the beginning of the year. But to be honest, the Eagles have started out like 10-1 the last 2 seasons, so I don't know how much of an effect that is. Granted, they didn't start a season off in Brazil against the Packers, who are, in my opinion, top 4 NFC team.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, will Nick actually play, Jalen a little bit, play AJ, play Saquon? I don't know.
I think it could be a little bit of a benefit, just to play them at least maybe like a series or two in each preseason game. I think it could be beneficial.
Yeah,
for their health. I mean, Jalen obviously was hurt. I would say for most of the year last year. I mean, that knee was not. He was
never really
100%. Yeah, I think that knee was really bothering him. He got hurt in the first 4 or 5 games that he played last year, and he just didn't look the same the rest of the season.
Yeah, but I mean that the whole team that last season is trash. We're throwing that out. That's dysfunctional. But that is kind of, though, like, I think the importance of the Packers game, like, win or lose that game, it's how we look. Like, I will come out of it. I mean, obviously we lose. I'm always mad. But if we win in a close game and we look well, I'll still take that as positive things. Like, even if we came out...
Well, even if we lose, but we looked good, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so if we lose and we look good, I'm be okay. At least it's promising. It's a tough matchup. I mean, and I guess the same could be said if we win kind of how we won last year in the beginning of the year, where we're...
I don't want to say like we
fluky
did...
stuff happens, or we just don't look... We don't look like we're ready to play... We're sloppy and stuff like that. That might even be more discouraging. But, I mean, Eagles need to come out and be ready to play. And I just want to see good, solid football. Win or lose in that game. Just playing solid football. I want to see...
I don't want to say every game like we did last year. A win is a win. Because that's not the way to... we were pulling wins out of our butts and...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't want to be there... saying, we turned the ball over 4 times, we had 10 penalties, but, a ball bounced off somebody's head and we got an interception and we win. So, no, we don't want that. But I just want to see, the defense look competent. Can they tackle anybody in that first week? And can the offense have any kind of rhythm? Because on paper, this team is stacked.
Absolutely.
The offense is
loaded. But that's on paper, you know what I mean? We got to actually see them play.
Yeah, and I think that's been a lot on the coaching staff. But anyway, so you get the Packers game. Week 2, then, we're hosting Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football. Everybody knows his struggles on prime time. I don't put a whole lot of stock in that. I think it's a little fluky. I mean, obviously, Kirk Cousins is a winning quarterback. Is he elite? No, but he's a good quarterback. If you think that because it's played at 8 o'clock on a Monday night that he can't win, that's dumb, But ultimately, I just don't think the Falcons are that good of a team. I mean, they're good for the NFC South. And is
he going to be healthy enough to even start, though? I mean,
I think he should be. He'll be fine. He'll be playing, and I just think the Eagles are just a better team. And then we just roll right into 2 road games with the Saints and the Bucs. Once again, same kind of thing. I don't think the Saints or the Bucs are that good. I mean, yes, the Bucs beat us in the playoffs last year, but at that time,
we were morally out of it.
We were in full destruction mode at that point with the Bucs when we played the Bucs in the playoffs. Like, if us as fans are sitting there like, God, I can't wait for this to be over. What do you think the guys who are getting beat up are thinking? So. I mean, out of those first 4 games, we really need to be 3-1 minimum. I mean, 4-0 would be great. I mean, it'd be
I don't see
amazing
that
if we
happening
started.
though.
But realistically, 3-1 out of that start, be it you lose to the Packers or, maybe you trip up in New Orleans. That is a tough place to play. I mean, it's possible. But if you go 3-1 into your bye, and as much as I don't like the bye week in week 5, the fact that we're on the road 3 out of our first 4 games, maybe a bye week, is not horrible. Plus, you can get rested up for the second quadrant, which you start out with Cleveland, a very physical team, so you don't want to be taking bruises and pain and,
Although I don't
aches.
think Deshaun Watson is that guy
No, I don't
like
either.
everybody else does. I mean, I think he's an okay quarterback. I don't think he's great.
But Cleveland has a really good roster. But in that second 4 there, we got Cleveland, at Giants, at the Bengals, Jaguars. So this is definitely a little bit of a step up in competition compared to the first 4 weeks. But the Browns are a physical team, really good defense. They have some playmakers on offense. They'll be getting their running back, who, Chubb, who missed not all last year, but most of last year with that leg injury. They'll get him back. And then you follow that up with at the Giants, which is like my first trap game of the season. Even though Daniel Jones is garbage, but if they're going to get up for any game, it's going to be the return of Saquon Barkley.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The crowd is going to be nuts. They got a good coach. I respect him. I think he's a good guy. I
think they want to play for him.
Yeah, I just think they're handicapped with Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is their Achilles heel, to be honest.
But I mean, that's going to be, they got the rookie wide receiver. See how Neighbors, right? That's who they got.
I think he's
See
going to
how
be really
he does,
good.
and I mean, but it's still Daniel Jones. Then we go to Cincinnati. This is the first game I have circled as far as the measuring stick for our new secondary.
Oh, for Cincinnati, you mean?
Going against Joe Burrow with
Well, you got a
Jamar
man crush on
Chase.
Joe Burrow, too, so
I do
that
have a
doesn't
man
help
crush on
either.
Joe Burrow, but going up against Joe Burrow, they got Jamar Chase, you got Higgins, like that wide receiving crew is going to stretch us, and I think that's like the first test for that secondary on like really what have we built here, and you have enough in there because there's going to be some falters in them first games. I mean, obviously the Bucks going up against Mike Evans, that's going to be a tough one, but I think going into week 8, like our secondary should at least have an identity.
It's just
at
going to
that
say, I'm
point,
hoping by that point.
and
we'll
going
have-
up, and that's going to be that first test. Can we slow down an elite receiver in Jamar Chase? Like, can we shut down an elite?
Well, we don't even know
quarterback
what's
in
going
Joe
on
Burrow?
with T. Higgins. Did T. Higgins get paid yet? Or
I don't know. I don't follow a lot of Cincinnati outside of Joe Burrow because I have a man crush on him. But, I mean, that's going to be a tough one. And then you follow up that tough game with Dougie P coming back to the
coming
link.
back to Philly?
And
yeah.
man, I can't wait. I can't wait to see that. I just want to see that reaction the
Well, and I
Philly
think-
crowd gives him because he deserves it. And if I was running things, which I'm not, he'd still be the coach of the Eagles. I know there was a lot of back stuff going on and whatever, depends on who you listen to. But man, the guy wins the only Super Bowl in franchise history, and he gets fired a couple years later.
Yeah,
but,
that was. But
Sunday
I
Night
think Philly has a
Football-
lot of respect for him. I think the Philly fans have a lot of respect for him,
And that's gonna be
regardless
a
of
nice
what
warm,
happened.
It's going to
And
be a nice warm welcome, I think, when he comes back. And
Yeah.
then obviously, then you get on the field and you get to see, Trevor Lawrence and them guys there.
I hate to say it, like Trevor Lawrence. In my opinion, Trevor Lawrence is highly overrated. He hasn't done anything.
Well, he still has amazing hair and a rocket arm, but
He hasn't done anything. Like, what has he done,
this
really?
is very true. He is not living up to expectations.
He has not.
But
He's
I
not
mean-
been very good. In my opinion, he's highly overrated. The fact that people put him in the top 10 or the top 12 or whatever, I think he hasn't done anything to really show that he is top 10, top 12 caliber, or even top 15. Like maybe a top 15, but what has he really done to show you that he belongs in that category?
yeah, he's won one playoff game, and that's about it. But
let's move on.
I mean, so in those four, once again, we can go 3-1 in that. I don't know where the loss is, and Cincinnati could be Jacksonville.
I want to say either. I'm gonna say between. I want to say between the Browns and Cincinnati are my two, but you're right, that Giants game could be a trap game as well.
Yeah, it could be a trap. People are looking forward to Cincinnati. I believe that's going to be, it's two Super Bowl contenders going at it.
Yeah.
They could overlook the Giants. The Giants stink. We always have their number, miracle at the Meadowlands, 1 through 5,000, all that kind of stuff. They could look through it. But
the Jags don't scare me. I'll be honest. The Jaguars do not scare me. I want to say it's between the Browns and Cincinnati and possibly the Giants game because it could be a trap game.
Jags don't really scare me, especially like if we're playing the way that
especially
we think
our
we should be
secondary.
playing. They should be able to control the Jaguars, and I think if we're playing well, I don't think that we're going to look ahead because that has your chance of being a trap.
Yeah.
But you're not looking ahead to your next four that kick off with them Cowboys.
Cowboys.
And I'm just so excited for this game because I don't know.
I've been saying for a while now that I wanted the first game that we played, the Cowboys, I wanted it in Dallas. I would rather get in Dallas done sooner rather than later because I feel like we always tend to split. But I feel like if we get a good strong good strong start against the Cowboys in Dallas, I think we would win that game. And then they're not coming to the link and they're not going to beat us. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
You can call me a homer all you want, but
especially when you look at the Cowboys' schedule is much more challenging in the beginning of the season, and
if they drop
if they're sitting at like 4-4 at the at that point, they've had their bye and they're sitting at 500.
Their internal struggles,
and we go in there to Jerry World and we beat them. I mean, that could be mid-season knockout for them.
Yeah, because there's so much internal stuff with Dak not being paid. I mean, I've heard some rumbling of Micah possibly being extended or them reworking a deal, but CD Lamb has not gotten paid, and he hasn't showed up to any of
their camps and all that.
Camps or
There's
anything like that.
There's just a lot of noise going on there. I don't know how it's going to affect them in the thing. I personally believe, I think if they start out bad, that it could crumble. If they start out good, though, that could actually bring them all together, but we know that's not going to happen. They just get their fans' hopes up, but Cowboys game, that could be a midseason knockout. We follow it up with Thursday night football against Washington. Young quarterback there. I really wanted to play them early before Jaden Daniels figures out what he's doing.
Gets his feet underneath of him.
Because, I kind of quietly liked what Washington did in the offseason. I don't think they got any elite players, but they got a bunch of good players. They got Zach Ertz. They got in Austin Eckler they brought in. They already had Scary Terry. Their problem is just they have no O-line and their defense isn't very good. But if they improve any of that, which I imagine with the new head coach, the defense should be better. With Quinn, their defense should be better.
And Dan Quinn brought a lot of the defensive players over from Dallas with him, too. There was a lot of people that followed him, I guess, because not just the fact that
they liked him, but
but Dallas wasn't going to pay him.
So, Commanders, that could be a tricky game. They just always play us tough.
They really do. We always have a problem with them.
We probably should have lost both games to them last year. The Super Bowl year, the year before, we did lose to them in Philly. So they play us tough. That's going to be a tough one. Then we get Sunday.
We always have a problem with the
Then we get our mini bye. We go in, then travel out west to the Rams. Rams are a good team.
And we get to see Boston Scott again. That's going to be Boston, our first game against Boston, which really makes me sad that, Boston was my guy. You know that when we first started him, I was excited about him because that was that year that we had a crap ton of injuries.
Yeah.
And we had to literally pull from our practice squad. And he was him and, who was the other guy? I can't remember the other guy. They both came up on the practice squad and they balled out.
Yeah.
So that'd
be fun to see him, and then obviously LA, and then the fun part about playing in LA is the Eagles fans are going to take over that stadium, and it's going to be almost like an Eagles home game. And we do really well out there traditionally. So that should be a fun game. And then probably the toughest game on the schedule at Baltimore.
It's going to be the Ravens.
I mean, this has the making of being a Super Bowl potential matchup. Lamar versus Jalen is going to be fun. That defense is just nasty with Baltimore.
Now also what's his name? They just traded for him, or they just got him in free agency. I'm sorry. No. Cowboys were going to go after it. Well, he wanted to go to.
You talking about Derrick Henry?
Yeah, King Henry.
Offense, not defense.
I know, but I'm just saying, in their offense,
Derrick
they have
Henry
him
going in there, and then that defense is just nasty.
That defense is awful.
We do get a break on this one a little bit. If you're looking for any kind of advantage, in fact, Baltimore has to play the Chargers the week before, so the Harbaugh brother matchup on Monday Night Football. Game. So they're going to be coming off a short week, even though we're traveling back from the West Coast too. So that kind of evens out, but they're actually playing Monday night. Emotional game for their coach playing his brother. Obviously, they're all going to want to play up for that. So there is a little bit of a mess there. But anyway, with that is definitely this 4 games: the Cowboys, Commanders, Rams, Ravens. That is hands down. That's our toughest part of
That's our toughest part of the season.
If we can find a way to go 3-1 there, and emphasis on going 3-1, beating the Cowboys. Like one of the one loss can't be the Cowboys, but you go 3-1, beating the Cowboys, and say you drop to Baltimore. Even if you drop to the Commanders, I think still that's okay. I mean, you don't ever want to lose divisional games, but going 3-1 there, beat the Cowboys, hard fought game against the Ravens. I think that's going to be a fun game. I'm pretty surprised that that's a midday Sunday game, but.
I'll be completely honest. As I've told you before, Lamar doesn't scare me. Lamar does not scare me. I know you said traditionally we don't do good against running quarterbacks.
No, this is going to be a huge test for our
Lamar doesn't scare me because he could always turn into the guy that he turned into when it came to the playoffs and decided instead of run the ball, I'm going to throw. Which his strength is running the ball. Jalen's strength.
Best case scenario for the Eagles is
he turns into
Lamar wants to throw the ball 40 times, but
and I mean he's not a horrible thrower of the ball. He's not a great thrower of the ball. That's going to be a
huge test for our linebackers trying to contain him with that. But if we can go 3-1 in that spot, we'll be sitting there at 9-3 going into the home stretch, and the home stretch I think is really favorable for us. Last 5 games.
Panthers don't scare me.
Panthers, I mean, that's almost a bye week. I mean, they've added a little bit, but man, they're just so far away, and I really feel bad for Bryce Young. I don't really know if he's going to be good or not, but man, he's in a horrible situation there. Then we got the Steelers. That's a cool rivalry for the fans, but at that point in the season, the Steelers' back end of their schedule is rough. They're going to come off playing 4 straight divisional games.
I don't know, but you have to think about. I get it what you're saying, but you also have to think. Tomlin has never had a losing season in his career,
and I love Mike Tomlin, and
he hasn't had. I mean, aside from Big Ben, what quarterback can you name that he has actually had that has been a legitimate quarterback?
Well, he had Big Ben for 10 years, so. I mean,
but after Big Ben is what I'm saying. And he had Big Ben at the end of his career.
He had most of his career. Mike Tomlin's been there for ever. But I mean, this isn't a slant on Mike Tomlin. It's the fact that I don't think the Steelers' offense is that good, even with adding Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, whoever's going to start there. It's more into the fact that they're going to get bloodied the 4 weeks before us, and it's going to be a hard-fought game. The Eagles aren't going to score a lot against them.
Because their defense isn't terrible.
No, their defense is great, but I don't really mesh with that.
It's hard to say now because the league is becoming such an offensive league. A lot of the defenses have kind of been shuttered down as far as what you're allowed to do.
What you can do.
What you can't do.
But Pittsburgh will always have a great defense. They will have a great defense. But, I mean, I just think Pittsburgh's going to be too beat up at that point. And then we finish up the season then with 3 straight divisional games at Washington, which that's going to be tough because I think by that time Jaden Daniels is going to have stuff figured out. and they could be fighting for a wild card spot at that point. Then we get the Cowboys at home and finish off against the Giants. If we go 4-1, I think we're going to go 4-1 in them last 5, with the only loss being, I think we said everybody, week 18 for the Giants. If not, we're going 5-0. If we're healthy and we're playing the way I think we are the first games, I think that is definitely our easiest spot. So we get, the four toughest game bracket,
kind of in the
followed
middle
right
there
by those 5 straight games that I think, we are much better than. And, then the overall theme of the schedule, we play nobody after they're having a bye or a mini bye. Where last year it seemed, especially during our gauntlet.
Every year, we were coming off, another team was coming off a bye or
coming off the bye, coming off Thursday night football, and just getting those extra days rest is big.
Huge. It's really
and
big.
We just weren't, we're coming off. We're playing Monday night football, and then we got to play,
Tuesday.
We're playing San Francisco then, and then, San Francisco's coming off a 10-day layoff, and we have a 6-day layoff, and that I don't think that was the exact matchup, but you know what I mean. Like, one team has 6 days, the other one has 10, and that just kept happening, and that wasn't the main reason why we fell apart.
And we played San Francisco when everybody was healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, San Francisco had a stretch there where
they didn't have guys healthy.
They lost 3 games in a row because Brock Purdy's just not that guy. I'm sorry.
No, he's not. But anyway, we don't see San Francisco on the schedule. We'll see them in the playoffs, and we'll show Brock Purdy that he's not that guy. But I mean, the overall schedule. I mean, I'm thinking 13-4. I mean, obviously, injuries can go a big part in that. If the team struggles out the gate, I think this could be a collapse as well. I think Nick Sirianni could be fired at the bye week if this thing starts out funky, because I just think there's enough holdover talent from last year to be like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
But if we start out good, and I think if we start out good, another thing will be, I don't think this team is going to get overhyped on themselves like they did, because I think they might learn that we started out 10-1 last year, and we absolutely nosedived after that.
Yeah, so. I mean, we all we had to do was win out, and we were the number 1 seed.
Yeah,
they couldn't even win out. I mean,
couldn't even beat Arizona.
I mean,
that game wasn't even close. I mean, the score was a little closer than what it was. Arizona beat the snot out of us, and they are not a good football team. At that point, the Eagles were done. But screw last year.
We have to throw that. We're going to throw that out. I mean, because that was just.
That's horrible.
That's a season I don't ever want to remember. I mean, It's going to be a historical season, but I don't ever want to remember it because it was just bad.
I mean, there's
I'm going to go a little more conservative on. I'm going to say 12-5. You're saying 13-4. I'm going to say 12-5. I
don't think you're wrong. I mean, on good, I'm going 13-4 just because I think you need to be 13-4 to get to 1 seed. I mean, to be ahead of, Detroit and Green Bay and San Francisco and
But
whatever.
we also don't know what's going on with San Francisco when it comes to Debo and Ayuk. Are they keeping them? Are they going to sign them? Are they going to pay them? Like, what are they going to do?
I don't know.
So,
they're still a great team, and they're just the teams that are going to be in that mix. To stay ahead of them, whoever's going to get the 1 seed, I think is going to have to be 13-4. That's just the way I think. You're going to have to win 13 games to get the 1 seed. 12-5, I mean, it's okay. Be a 2 seed, get a home playoff game, get 2 home playoff games, and then maybe have to travel.
I'm okay if we go 12 and I'm okay if we go 12-5 with
home field advantage doesn't guarantee you the
not just the wins as well, like good quality wins and losses. I'm okay with. I want to see quality wins or losses. I want to see
fundamental football.
Absolutely.
Make it look like we know what we're doing. Even if we fail, at least we know what we're doing. And there was large chunks.
Have a freaking identity at some point. Like, we had no identity.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm not hugely high on Kellen Moore, to be completely honest. I have my doubts about him. I do. And it has nothing to do with the Cowboys. It's just I have my doubts about him. But on paper, this is probably the best offensive roster he's probably had in his career.
I mean, on paper, this is the best offense in football. On paper.
And there's a lot he
no
can
doubt
do.
about it. With
I mean,
AJ, Devontae, Dallas Goedert, Saquon, Jalen Hurts, this is the best offense in
I
football.
watched a video, I don't know, a few months back of watching Kellen Moore's draw up plays for the Cowboys and all the different ways, like all the different routes and, you know, confusion and stuff that he can do. Last year, whole middle of the field open. Bubble screen, bubble screen, bubble screen.
So many
There's Devontae Smith out there to block for Dallas Goedert. I don't ever want to see that.
If I ever see that again.
If I ever see that
They all
again,
need fired. I never want to see that again.
I never want to see that. You do not put him out there to block for Dallas Goedert. Why would you do that?
Makes no sense. But
anyhow, yeah, I'm
12 and
curious
5,
to
13
see
and 4. That looks fun to me. I mean, what game are you most excited about?
what game am I most excited about. I'll be honest, probably that Packers game, just because it's the beginning of the season and I'm gonna be hyped up for football and.
I'll say I'll be really hyped up. We'll lose the coin toss. I'll say the season's over. You know,
That's usually what you do. It's
normal
every game.
Normal stuff. For me, I'm really looking forward to that Cincinnati game because I love Joe Burrow. It's borderline
You
creepy.
have such a freaking man crush
I
on
love
him.
Joe Burrow, and
But-
I just want to see where the Eagles stack against that. I mean, because the first couple games, even with the Packers, I still think we have a better roster than the Packers. It's just from what I've seen of the Packers at the end and the Eagles. I mean, I go with the Packers are better. I mean, the Packers are a great team. Can Jordan Love continue to do that? But I do think the Eagles have a better roster. Cincinnati's the first one where I think they legitimately have multiple matchup problems for us. You know, that wide receiving crew and Joe Burrow, what their defense can do. I mean, their defense isn't elite, but their defense can still make plays. They've played a lot of big games, and that's just being in Cincinnati. I think that's going to be fun. But
I also I'm excited for that first Cowboys game to play them in Dallas.
Always ready for the Cowboys game. Always.
Of course.
Especially if we can finish them.
Yeah, as you keep saying, finish them.
Yes,
But
Mortal
we'll
Kombat
see. I mean, when it comes to divisional, I think we match up the best with the Cowboys as in the NFC. We match up the best against them. I think they've got some stuff to prove because they got players that aren't quite right. They got a lot of project players when it came to the draft. A lot of people that they need to work on. That Tyler Guyton guy, I think he's athletic, he's physical, but I don't know if he's a now starter. But by week.
Week 10,
By
for
week
some
10,
of their projects
could-
gotta start being ready. Yeah, I don't know.
Can he be ready? I mean, I legitimately see 12 and 5. 12 and 5. We're going to be a 12 and 5 team.
At least for now, going in the off season and mini camps and then training camp and then preseason. That's why I'm optimistic of a 13 and 4 season. I mean, we'll definitely be revisiting this before the season. Injuries are always huge, but that's injuries for everybody. But that's what I think. So
also, can Vic Fangio do what we're hoping? Because I'm not high on him either. I don't like that bend but don't break scheme. I have never liked it.
I personally, I'm not. I don't think either of the new coordinators are the greatest in the world, but
they're better than what we had
last year, and they're both experienced guys, and I think we need that. That's what I said last year when they hired them. Is like, you got a young head coach, you need to get some experienced coordinators. But,
right. And because Nick Sirianni is not a play calling, he's not a play calling coach.
Not good at that. Good at
He's our rah guy. But if we start off bad, and Nick Sirianni's putting his fingers in everything, he's gone, and I think we almost have to elevate Kellen
We'll see.
as head.
We'll see, but that's what the schedule is. So, I mean, that's our thoughts on it. I'm 13-4. She's 12-5. We're definitely going to revisit this closer to the season once we get a little bit of eyes on what's going on and get a feel for everything. But thanks, guys, for watching. Drop down below what you guys think the Eagles' record is going to be. Like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. And thanks for watching.
Also, if you like watching Phillies content, there's a couple guys out there that I want to shout out. Philly 500, Joey Shakes. Go check them out. They're great. So,
yeah.
see you next time.